This is Artemisinin, one of the most studied molecules in pharmacology, and quite likely one of the most important in terms of lives saved. Because of Artemisinin, tens of millions of lives were saved when malaria developed resistance to the quinine-based drugs used earlier, such as hydrochloroquine. So since 2005, the WHO was Since 2005, the WHO has recommended artemisinin combination therapy, or ACT. Artemisinin had been used in China, Vietnam, and probably Thailand for decades before that. It was just so superior to the Western drug mefloquine that it became so obvious that people were going to use this whether the WHO recommended it or not. It is thought that there was pressure from pharmaceutical companies who make the mefloquine to make sure that their profits were protected, because profitability is important for pharmaceutical development and clinical trials. It's just the way things are. So here's the molecule in 2 dimensions. And here's artemisinin's fact sheet. Artemisinin has been used in trials studying the treatment of schizophrenia, malaria, etc., etc. But if you scroll down, I think this is one of the best places to begin to look at studying a molecule or a drug. Oh, yes, here we go. So we have, some studies have already completed. A study to evaluate the safety of a herbal supplement in. Anything happen there? Oh, so this is really quite useful. So they're using dexamethasone. Is it complete? You find that often these trials are began and then suspiciously they never complete. Actual completion date, April 30th. Okay. Anyway, this is the efficacy of 500 milligram capsules. There were several other studies done. Okay, anyways. So this was one of the bigger studies done that showed there was definitely an impact from using these simple and inexpensive drugs, which is kind of fascinating. Because if you go to our world in data, I already have some of these kind of bookmarked, but these are pretty easy to find. So confirmed deaths, cumulative, worldwide, upper middle. So if you choose middle income or upper middle income, versus low income. And lower middle income. You start to notice something pretty wild. So these are cumulative deaths per million. So it's the best data that you have even from poorer countries. So here you have, for example, upper middle income countries approaching 1,000 deaths per million, and lower income countries at 65. That is a striking difference. Even when you factor in median age, a lot of these countries do have old people. It's not that they don't have any old people. They have far less. But yeah, even factoring in age, it's really stark, the differences. So what did we get for all the money that we spent? It's studies that, like these, that suggest to me that these poorer countries that used these drugs because it was all they could afford may have actually been better off. Yeah, okay. So now we don't like to think about these things, but our system is, wired towards certain kinds of industries. And that's the way it is. So this is one of the first papers written showing artemisinin derivatives potential in treating SARS-CoV-2. Kind of remarkable, really, that trials weren't done. If we look, there are other things. It's helpful. This is not an anti-vaccine statement. This is saying that maybe that using these cheap drugs in combination with a vaccine, or where a vaccine just can't be had. But it's not like these things haven't been studied. Anti-malaria peroxide is another way of saying, sesquiterpene lactones from Artemisia. Fluorine is a dangerous compound. I was researching that. So this is the article that I think was really, really important. So trials, et cetera, but this is a very safe and well-known compound that is widely available, just not in North America. It's available in malarial countries. So this medicine does more than just fight viruses and the parasite that causes malaria. This is really, really huge. So if you can lower the transcription factors and signaling factors, but that control things. So nuclear factor kappa B signaling pathway. Okay? All right, so bacteria and viruses activate this pathway that regulates many adaptive immune functions and has a central role in inflammatory responses. So any medicine that could reduce that or restore proper regulation to that signaling pathway, like artemisinin and artesunate, which act as inhibitors, would be extremely, extremely, extremely useful. Essentially what you're looking at here is a natural corticosteroid, one that is so safe that it is classed as a natural health product by Health Canada. But that is also its problem. There is no hundreds of billions of dollars to be made here. There might be billions, but this is more like cannabis in the sense that anyone can grow these plants, and with some pretty basic, relatively inexpensive equipment, in the process, we're talking about millions, large quantities of singular compounds can be extracted. And there's no reason why our plant growing here in Saskatchewan shouldn't be studied for its potential in being used in all of these, signaling pathways that are involved in cancer and viral inflammatory. It makes me actually very sad to think that we live in a world where we can't have these things. Now, this is really fascinating. Thymoquinine is something that's extracted from black seed oil. So what we have here is a disruptive technology. The pharmaceutical industry has become totally dependent on massive public funding for its profit. So that means people with liver and colon disease, too bad for you. You aren't going to get this. People with colorectal cancer, too bad. You can't have this. You can't have it. People with small lung cell melanoma, your oncologist probably has never heard of it. Pancreatic cancer, sorry, you're just going to have to die. And I think, realistically, I think we could do a hell of a lot better than that. I mean, this section right here is crazy. Do you know how many people die of pancreatic cancer? And we have something here that is so safe and so well known that we can't do a clinical trial because pharmaceutical countries own clinical trials, essentially. Yeah. Colorectal cancer. Nice. Here's the black seed. So I know this is hard to look at, but what it suggests is that trillions of dollars have been flushed down the toilet because we don't have a medical system that can study these kinds of plants. Artemisinin is a sesquiterpene lactone. So the Gates Foundation has poured probably close to 100 million or more. It's an undisclosed amount trying to synthesize artemisinin from either yeast or fungi. It's that important of a drug. And the thing is, if it starts to be repurposed for other things, there will be a shortage because there really are only two suppliers. There's really only one major supplier, and that would be China, with Africa picking up about 15% and growing. Because what they're finding is that under certain conditions, the artemisinin can be amplified when combined with other plants. So, I don't know what to say. But I'm looking for some help to start to bring this information to the wider market. People know that it's useful for cancer. This is an easy sell. An easy sell. You just need to bring it to market. That's all. Artesunate is the drug version of artemisinin. It has some better pharmacokinetics. It's absorbed better. But the thing is, the artemisinin and artesunate are so extremely close in the way that they work. So we've never studied our plant, the one here in Saskatchewan, grown under these conditions, for how much, what's its molecular profile. I think we need to do that, and it should be done, because this is like, these are the references. This is a peer-reviewed. This is a peer-reviewed journal. I mean, what have we got here? Like hundreds. And some of these articles have been seen by 30,000 academics. This isn't one of those. It's only been seen by 8,000. It's from Iran and the Netherlands, so not America. And we have a bias, to research that happens in our own neighborhood, in our own cities, in our own countries. That's just how humans are. But I would say that we also have this bias. But this is an important article. And you can see that it's picking up steam. Like nobody was looking at this when it first came out. Nobody. But it's growing. And I don't know how this information can be hidden from public view for much longer. I think that it is, in effect, it causes unnecessary suffering, that people don't have access to this information, that their doctors can't prescribe it, even if they know about it, because no one is going to do a trial. So if you know someone who's going to die of pancreatic cancer, let them know that they should be able to have this safe drug administered. Not only does it help in reducing the metastasis of cancer, but it also makes the chemo drugs work better. And yet, I personally know of people who have died of cancer that this simple medicine might have saved. This is a failure of capitalism. I'm not saying capitalism is a failure. I'm saying this is something that capitalism has a difficult time with. Cheap, inexpensive medicines that we can't use because there's just not so much profit in them.